Look, we both know the mainstream RPGs are getting totally stale. If you want to discover what others miss, you need games that actually simulate a living, breathing world. Here are 20 insanely realistic life and dynasty RPGs you have to play right now. Kingdom Come: Deliverance. This game doesn't care about your feelings. You start as a totally useless peasant named Henry who can't even swing a sword properly. You have to actually learn how to read, keep your clothes clean so nobles will talk to you, and make sure your food doesn't rot. The combat is incredibly punishing, but feels super rewarding once you get the hang of it. It looks ridiculously gorgeous even years after release. If you want a historical RPG with zero magic and pure grit, this is a massive banger. You'll spend hours just trying to survive a basic bandit ambush. It's the ultimate medieval life simulator for anyone who loves min-maxing their stats in a brutally realistic world. Mount & Blade 2: Bannerlord. This is basically the dream medieval sandbox. You start with absolutely nothing and slowly build an army to conquer the entire map. The massive battles are insane. You can physically command hundreds of troops on the field while riding a horse and swinging a massive axe. The economy is fully simulated too. You can buy workshops, trade goods across cities, and marry into royal families to steal their power. The graphics look incredibly solid, and the modding scene is absolutely massive right now. You can turn this game into literally anything you want. If you want to go from a nobody to a king while experiencing some of the best large-scale combat in gaming, you need to play this. Medieval Dynasty. Survival games are everywhere, but this one hits totally different. You aren't just trying to survive the winter, you're building an entire bloodline. You start by chopping wood and hunting rabbits, then you build a house. Before you know it, you're managing a massive settlement with dozens of NPCs who do chores for you. The changing seasons are visually stunning and actually impact your gameplay. If you don't prepare for winter, your villagers will freeze. You even have to get married and have an heir so your dynasty can continue when your main character dies. It's a slow burn, but incredibly relaxing. This sleeper hit is perfect if you want a cozy yet deep management RPG. Bellwright. You're framed for murder and have to start a full-blown rebellion from scratch. This game mixes base building, survival, and squad combat in a really fresh way. You recruit peasants to your cause, equip them with whatever gear you can craft, and slowly take back the land from a corrupt ruler. The town management is super satisfying. You assign jobs to your followers and watch them gather resources while you're out exploring. The combat has a bit of jank, but it feels gritty and punishing. You really have to think about your armor and weapons before picking a fight. It gives off a heavy Robin Hood vibe. This is definitely one you want to pick up if you love leading a ragtag militia. Sengoku Dynasty. Take the village building mechanics you know and drop them right into feudal Japan. The art style absolutely slaps. You're building communities in a war-torn country and everything looks incredibly authentic. You can choose different paths, like becoming a master craftsman, a warrior, or a monk. The resource gathering is pretty grindy, but it feels incredibly rewarding when you finish a massive traditional Japanese project. You can even play it in co-op with your friends, which makes the grind way more fun. The developers are constantly dropping massive updates to fix the early access bugs. If you're obsessed with samurai culture and want to build your own peaceful sanctuary, this is totally worth your time. Wild West Dynasty. Cowboys and base building is a mix we desperately needed. You're surviving in the harsh American frontier and building a sprawling western town. You start with a tiny shack and work your way up to running a booming settlement with saloons and sheriff's offices. The desert environments look surprisingly atmospheric. You have to hunt wildlife, survive extreme weather, and deal with outlaws trying to ruin your day. It definitely had a rough launch with some bugs, but the core idea is super ambitious. It's all about managing your resources and keeping your settlers happy in a totally unforgiving environment. If you want to create your own Wild West story and run the town, give this a look. Kenshi. This game will beat you down and laugh about it. It's a completely open-ended sandbox where you're literally nobody. You can be a traitor, a thief, a warlord, or just a guy who gets eaten by cannibals in the first 10 minutes. The graphics are old school, but the gameplay loop is absolutely addictive. You can lose a limb in combat and just replace it with a robotic one. You can build a massive city or roam the wasteland solo. It's completely brutal and unfair, but that's exactly why it's a masterpiece. The sense of progression from being totally useless to a god-tier warrior is unmatched. This is a must-play for hardcore gamers. Outward. Forget being the chosen one. You're just a regular person trying to pay off your debts while exploring a magical but terrifying world. This game takes survival RPG mechanics to the extreme. If you die, you don't just reload a save. You might wake up as a prisoner or get rescued by a random stranger. You actually have to read your map and use landmarks to navigate because there's no magic GPS marker. The magic system is complex and requires real preparation. You even have to drop your heavy backpack before a fight so you can dodge properly. Playing this in split-screen co-op is an absolute blast. It's a challenging, old-school adventure that won't hold your hand. The Guild 3. This is basically a medieval capitalism simulator mixed with The Sims. You start as a basic tradesman and try to build a massive family empire. You can run bakeries, blacksmith shops, or even a thieves guild. The economic simulation is incredibly deep. You have to monitor supply and demand to make a profit. But it isn't just about money. You can bribe city officials, assassinate your rivals, and get yourself elected as the mayor. The graphics are decent, but you're really here for the complex political and economic mechanics. It's all about outsmarting your opponents and making sure your family stays in power for generations. If you love deep management and backstabbing, this will steal your weekend. Life is Feudal your own. This game takes the word grindy and turns it into an art form. It's a hardcore medieval sandbox where you have to do literally everything by hand. You want a shovel? You have to find a branch, chip a rock, and tie them together. You can terraform the entire map, digging massive mine shafts or building mountains right in the middle of nowhere. It's a very slow-paced game that's all about the journey and the community you play with. You can host your own server, tweak the skill progression speeds, and play exactly how you want. If you love deep, old-school crafting games with zero restrictions, this is a massive time sink. Gloria Victis. Think of this as Mountain Blade but turned into a massive multiplayer game. It's a low-fantasy medieval MMO focused entirely on territory control. The non-targeting combat means your personal skill actually dictates who wins a fight. You join a faction and fight in constant open-world battles to capture castles and resource nodes. The crafting system is a huge part of the economy, since players need constant gear replacements after dying. The community is surprisingly tight-knit, and veterans are always willing to train new players. It gives you the feeling of being a foot soldier in a massive medieval war. If you want huge sieges and player-driven politics, you need to jump into this immediately. Shenmue III. This one is for the fans who waited literal decades. It picks up exactly where the story left off and keeps that classic, slow-paced life simulation feel. You play as Ryo Hazuki, wandering around beautiful Chinese villages trying to avenge your father. You have to manage your daily schedule, chop wood for money, and buy garlic to keep your energy up. The martial arts combat is clunky, but leveling up your moves feels super rewarding. It feels like stepping into a time machine back to the Dreamcast era, for better or worse. The environments look super charming, and the attention to mundane details is crazy. If you love slow-burn detective stories with heavy slice-of-life mechanics, check this out. Yakuza 0. The recreation of 1980s Tokyo in this game is absolute perfection. It isn't an RPG in the traditional sense, but the life simulation aspect is totally unmatched. You can literally spend hours managing a real estate empire, running a cabaret club, or just playing arcade games. The neon-lit streets feel incredibly alive and packed with detail. The main story is a gritty, intense crime drama, but the side quests are completely unhinged and hilarious. The brawler combat is buttery smooth and lets you smash bicycles over people. It perfectly balances heavy emotional moments with pure video game nonsense. If you want to get lost in an insanely detailed virtual city, this is a legendary game you can't skip. Vagrus: The Riven Realms. This game is basically a tabletop RPG turned into a hardcore caravan manager. You lead a company of mercenaries and traders across a totally ruined, post-apocalyptic fantasy world. You have to constantly manage your supplies, your crew morale, and your cargo. If you run out of water, your crew will literally mutiny and kill you. The lore is incredibly deep and the writing is absolutely top tier. Every choice you make in the text events can drastically alter your journey. The turn-based combat is highly tactical and punishes mistakes hard. The hand-drawn art style gives it a really gritty, dark aesthetic. If you love hardcore strategy and managing a tough crew, Play this right now. Wartales. You aren't trying to save the world here, you just want to get paid. You lead a group of greedy mercenaries looking for jobs in a gritty, low-fantasy universe. The turn-based combat is incredibly deep, and positioning your units is everything. You have to feed your squad, pay their wages, and treat their wounds, or they'll straight up abandon you. The profession system is super addictive. You can have a blacksmith, a cook, and a thief all contributing to your camp. The world map is massive and packed with hidden locations and random encounters. You can even capture wolves to fight for you. It's a massive time sink and perfectly scratches that tactical RPG itch. Battle Brothers. Don't let the board game art style fool you. This is one of the most brutal tactical RPGs ever made. You run a mercenary company and your guys are going to die permanently, and often. You have to manage your finances, buy decent armor, and take on contracts to survive. The combat happens on a hex grid and is completely ruthless. An arrow to the face can instantly kill your best fighter. You have to rely on smart formations and exploiting the terrain to win. The world is procedurally generated, so every campaign feels totally different. It's highly addictive because every small victory feels earned. If you enjoy punishing strategy games and managing a tough crew, play this right now. Shadows of Doubt. This is easily the most immersive detective simulator ever created. You get dropped into a fully simulated, procedurally generated sci-fi city where every single citizen has a job, an apartment, and a daily routine. A murder happens, and it's entirely up to you to solve it. You can break down doors, hack computers, check security cameras, or crawl through vents to find clues. The game won't hold your hand at all. You have an actual corkboard where you connect evidence with red string. The voxel art style looks fantastic, and the atmosphere is heavy and mysterious. If you're tired of fake detective games and want to do real, gritty investigative work, this game is an absolute masterpiece. Mortal Online 2. Welcome to the most ruthless first-person MMO on the market. There are no safe zones here. If you die, players can take all your gear. The crafting system is insanely deep. There are thousands of material combinations to make weapons and armor. You actually have to aim your attacks and block in real time. The world is absolutely massive and looks ridiculously gorgeous. You can tame wild mounts, build keeps, and fight in massive guild wars. It's definitely not for casual players because the learning curve is like hitting a brick wall. But if you want a sandbox where your reputation and skill actually matter, this provides an adrenaline rush you just can't get anywhere else. Wurm Unlimited. Graphics aren't everything, and this game proves it. This is the ultimate sandbox where every single object is created by players. You start with primitive tools and slowly skill up your character by repeating actions. You can literally spend weeks just leveling up your carpentry or farming skills. The terrain deformation is wild. You can dig massive mine shafts or build mountains right in the middle of nowhere. It's a very slow-paced game that's all about the journey and the community you play with. You can host your own server, tweak the skill progression speeds, and play exactly how you want. If you love deep, old-school crafting games with zero restrictions, this is a massive time sink. Norland. If you want a dynasty game where your own family is your biggest threat, this is it. You control a noble family managing a medieval city, but it's basically a highly complex social simulator. Your characters have their own desires, flaws, and grudges. You have to handle everything from peasant revolts and religious cults to assassinations within your own bloodline. The graphics are a simple 2D style, but the actual mechanics are incredibly deep and totally unhinged. Your brother might literally start a civil war because you didn't give him enough gold, or your king could get drunk and insult a neighboring empire. It's wildly unpredictable. If you love deep management and creating incredibly messy medieval dramas, you have to check this out. Which game are you picking up first? Drop it in the comments. Hit subscribe so you never miss another hidden gem. See you next time!